Long before psychology textbooks attempted to measure it, storytellers were already warning us about the danger of loving ourselves too much. Across cultures, myths described figures who became so captivated by their own brilliance, beauty, or achievements that they lost sight of the world around them. These stories weren't really about mirrors or reflections, they were about imbalance. Today, we use the word narcissism to describe that imbalance, but in psychology, it has a more precise meaning than the casual insult we often hear online. Narcissism refers to a pattern of thinking and behaving characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep craving for admiration, and a reduced capacity for empathy. It exists on a spectrum. On one end is healthy self-confidence, the kind that allows people to pursue goals, speak up for themselves, and recover from setbacks. On the other end is a rigid, exaggerated self-image that depends on constant validation from others. The difference between confidence and narcissism isn't simply how highly someone thinks of themselves. It's how much their self-view depends on feeling superior, special, or entitled. Healthy confidence is stable and grounded in reality. Narcissism is fragile, often propped up by comparison, competition, and attention. A confident person can admit mistakes without crumbling. A narcissistic person may interpret even mild criticism as an attack. That's because beneath the surface of superiority often lies something more unstable, a self-esteem that must be constantly defended. Psychologists typically describe two primary expressions of narcissistic traits: grandiose and vulnerable narcissism. Grandiose narcissism is the version most people recognize. It is bold, dominant, and attention-seeking. Individuals high in grandiose traits often appear charismatic and socially confident. They may gravitate toward leadership roles, public recognition, or careers that place them in the spotlight. They tend to overestimate their abilities and may believe they are uniquely talented or destined for greatness. Because they exude confidence, they can initially attract admiration and followers, but over time, their need for praise and control can strain relationships and workplaces. Vulnerable narcissism, in contrast, looks quieter and more defensive. These individuals may seem reserved or even shy, yet they carry a similar sense of entitlement beneath the surface. They are highly sensitive to criticism and prone to feelings of shame, envy, or resentment. Instead of loudly declaring superiority, they may feel chronically underappreciated or misunderstood. In both forms, the common thread is self-preoccupation. The grandiose narcissist protects their self-image through dominance and attention. The vulnerable narcissist protects it through withdrawal, defensiveness, or quiet bitterness. In everyday life, most people show small traces of both styles at times. The key distinction is frequency and intensity. When these traits become rigid patterns that define how someone interacts with the world, the costs begin to accumulate, not just for the individual, but for those around them. Over the long term, narcissistic tendencies can erode trust and connection. In romantic relationships, a partner high in narcissistic traits may initially seem exciting and confident, but intimacy requires empathy, accountability, and mutual care, qualities that excessive self-focus can undermine. A narcissistic partner might use affection strategically, withdraw when criticized, or struggle to genuinely celebrate another person's success. In friendships, conversations may revolve around their achievements, grievances, or ambitions. In leadership positions, narcissism can be especially complex. Some degree of boldness and self-belief can inspire teams and drive innovation. However, when leaders prioritize personal status over collective well-being, they may take reckless risks, ignore constructive feedback, or silence dissent to protect their image. When their authority is challenged, their response can range from hostility to humiliation tactics. What makes narcissism particularly tricky is that it can feel rewarding in the short term. Attention feels good, praise feels good, status feels good. But because the validation must be continuously replenished, the cycle never truly satisfies. When admiration fades or criticism appears, the reaction can be intense: anger, blame, defensiveness, or even emotional withdrawal. In its most severe and inflexible form, these patterns may be diagnosed as narcissistic personality disorder, a clinical condition characterized by pervasive grandiosity, a strong need for admiration, and significant impairments in empathy and functioning. This diagnosis is reserved for adults, since adolescence naturally involves heightened self-focus and identity exploration. What distinguishes a disorder is not occasional vanity or ambition, but a persistent pattern that disrupts relationships, careers, and overall well-being. So where does narcissism come from? Research suggests that both biology and environment contribute. Twin studies indicate a genetic component, meaning some individuals may be temperamentally predisposed toward traits like dominance, sensitivity to status, or heightened reactivity to social evaluation. But genes are not destiny. Early experiences play a powerful role in shaping how self-esteem develops. Overvaluation, being consistently told a child is superior without balanced feedback, can foster grandiose tendencies. On the other hand, inconsistent affection, harsh criticism, or emotionally cold parenting can contribute to vulnerable narcissism, where entitlement masks deep insecurity. Cultural context also matters. Societies that emphasize individual achievement, competition, and personal branding may amplify narcissistic traits, especially when success is equated with visibility and admiration. Modern technology has expanded opportunities for self-presentation, offering constant metrics of approval in the form of likes, shares, and followers. While there is no clear evidence that social media directly causes narcissism, it can provide fertile ground for those already inclined toward validation-seeking behaviors. The encouraging news is that narcissistic traits are not fixed. Growth is possible, though it can be difficult. Psychotherapy can help individuals develop greater self-awareness, regulate defensiveness, and strengthen empathy. Practices that cultivate perspective-taking and compassion, such as reflecting on others' feelings or engaging in service-oriented activities, can gradually rebalance self-focus. True change requires tolerating discomfort, admitting flaws, accepting limits, and recognizing that worth does not depend on constant admiration. In a culture that often rewards self-promotion, choosing humility and empathy can feel countercultural. Yet the ability to see oneself clearly, without exaggeration or distortion, may be the most powerful reflection of all.